Finance meeting, election of officers before we start the regular meeting, so it's a little more clumsy, but it's just a couple minutes. So I want to call to order the election of officers and the approval of the Finance Committee. Okay. So the first action item that we have is, the recommended motion is to approval to appoint Ann Meyer as president, Julie Kuhnheim as vice president, and Brian Robinson as secretary of the officers of our finance corporation. Do I hear?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Wait a minute. Who was my second?
Oh, I was.
Clem.
I'm jumping right in.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. The next thing that we have to do is the approval of the minutes from the Financial Corporation meeting of January 10th, 2022. Okay. So I have to have an approval of the minutes from the meeting of January 10th, 2022. Do I need a motion for that?
So moved. Motion. Motion.
Look at, they're like the dream team.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second? Okay. All right. Anything else we need to do?
Yep, we can adjourn.
Okay, we can adjourn. All right, Peggy, did you do the timing
Yeah.
and everything? Okay.
Next meeting can't start until 6:30.
Okay. Can I introduce people?
Do anything informally, you don't.
I know. I will do that.
Ooh.
We can't start our next meeting.
Okay. All right. We cannot start a meeting until 6:30, but those of you who are here in the next couple minutes, actually we're pretty close to 6:30,
6:30.
is our first meeting with Clem and Sarah. So we want to welcome Sarah Foster and Clem Fennell. Welcome to our board. You were already seconding motions even before I introduced you. Impressive. Impressive. So that's good. So welcome. Welcome.
We can start.
We can start. All right. Will you all please rise for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you hear the little voices out there doing the pledge? Okay. All right. The first thing we're going to do is this part of recognition, school board recognition. Kelly, are you doing this?
I am.
All right.
Oh, assistants.
anything.
I know. Yeah, don't get used to that. Yeah.
Oh, you better go.
He saw you seconding motions already. He knows.
He's impressed.
Thank you.
It is kind of funny. That January's
know.
appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. You got him.
He's like, I want to get it.
He's on it.
Clear, I've done something right.
That's awesome.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the Fort Thomas Education Association to recognize the true labor of love that it is to be a board member in our community. It is definitely a really special role. I've worked in a large district before, and I can tell you from my experience that in other districts, their boards are not the type of people that donate their stipends to support the dreams and efforts of teachers and students. That is something really, really unique and really special that makes Fort Thomas Independent Schools just a really unique and wonderful place to be for teachers and students. You're not going to find school boards in other districts that do that, and I think that's just really special, and you can see the work and the effort that you guys do and that dedication to our community and to our students, and it just exudes out of all of our buildings. And that starts with a really solid board that provides really solid leadership, and even if there's disagreement behind closed doors, when you guys step in front of those microphones, you guys are a unified front that represents our schools and does what's best for our kids and our teachers every single day. And our teachers, on behalf of the association, deeply, deeply appreciate that. The work you all do goes far beyond the time and energy that's visible here. I know that there's a lot of hours that are not in front of the microphone. They're behind a closed door where you're hashing it out, figuring out the details so that other people don't have to. And at the end of the day, everybody here benefits from that. And I want you to know that that is not unseen. It is deeply appreciated by the teachers that work in your district. It is certainly a full-time job that our association is so incredibly grateful for. It's one that I certainly would not be able to take on, that's for sure. Your efforts can be seen clearly in the success and traditions of our schools. I also want to make sure that we recognize the hard work of Brad Fennell and Lisa Duckworth, our outgoing board members. Certainly grateful for all those years of service that they put in, and certainly grateful to have you guys on our board and know that you guys are going to do wonderful things and lead our district to future success. So thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Give them a round of applause.
So we do have one additional kind of recognition and thank you. I want to echo a lot of Kelly's thoughts and sentiments. This is School Board Appreciation Month across the state. And Clem said, I haven't even done anything yet, and that's not really true. So we welcome Clem and Sarah both to this Board of Education. It is quite a thankless job in many, many ways. But what I can tell you about the boards that I've worked with, and even in the early meetings with Sarah and Clem, there's not a group of people that want to be the heartbeat of a community the way that our Board of Education does. They are the true definition of public servants and people who want to uphold that idea that our schools matter for the vitality and health of our entire system. I truly believe when we are working with our administrative team and we look to see the progress of our students, that commitment to make sure that our students were always in school, that instruction and the quality of teachers and support of our teachers and the experiences and opportunities for our students matter to so much. And so because of that, we've seen engagement, we've seen achievement, we've seen attendance that you're not seeing across the country in a similar way. And it really is the service of the people up here. So we thank you. We do have one more little bit of swag because, as Kelly said, the stipends that they get for these meetings are donated in teacher scholarships and future teacher scholarships for Bluebirds to hopefully come back and serve our community. So while I get their presents, I ask for one more round of applause for some really great people.
Well, thank you. I'm going to kind of speak for them too. We were asked for school board recognition to put what do we love about being on the school board, and I actually take a lot of joy. I follow up with the kind of the being on the journey with kids as they come as kindergartners and exit their senior year. I love that. I truly am in awe of our teachers. So I'm glad that you recognize that you're valued to us, and so we really appreciate those kind words. So thank you very much. You don't get gifts every month, just so you know. All right. I know. You'll be coming in going, where's my gift bag? Thank you. Okay, the next section is the board bravos and updates. So if anybody has anything to share at this time, do you have anything to?
Well, the high school, or the Highlands Middle School will be presenting Cinderella. Their musical for the year is taking place the last weekend of January. I believe that's the 26th through 29th. So Cinderella, the classic version from what I understand. I have seen some of the costume work going into it, and it is going to be quite amazing. So if you don't have tickets, I believe they are already on sale.
And on Saturday at the high school, Highlands Dance Program is hosting its first competition. That is a fundraiser for the team to go to national competition in Florida, but it will showcase and have our Baby Birds, which are our new youth program, and then our middle school JV and varsity team there. So great chance to see them. $10 for tickets. can pay cash at the door, and there'll be a link going around if you want to do that ahead of time. So come out and support 10 to 3 on Saturday.
I think the Baby Birds are dancing at the girls' game too Thursday, right?
Yeah?
And then
Well,
the boys play Dixie, I believe, Friday
Yeah.
night, so
Get it on.
basketball.
Yeah.
So busy time. January 20th, so what is that, a week and a half on Friday, is the Booster Bash. So we talked about it before. It's up at Post in the Midway section, so in the Midway area. I know they're having a cake decorating or cake contest, and they asked me to judge, which I would have loved to, because, you know, as a former home ec teacher and cake eater, I would have been
Literally and
I would have been a
figuratively.
great judge, but I can't do that. So you might get a call to judge something.
I do
but
like cakes.
They've added that, and this is their big fundraiser, so come out and support the athletic boosters, so that's great. Anything else? We covered everything?
Hall of Fame nominations are being accepted now until March 15th. So meeting with that group as a representative from the board, check out the athletic page, Highlands High School Athletic Department page, see the link there, but nominate outstanding athletes, coaches, teams throughout the decades.
Kindergarten registration is January 17th through the 19th. So if we have any families out there that have prospective students, now's the time to get them into the nest. Spread the word if you have neighbors out there. It is an online registration this year, so check out the website. And this will be scheduling season for high school students. One-on-one scheduling takes place. You know, it is January, so it's a new year. There's a lot to be thankful for as we get into the new year, and we as an administrative team last week reflected on a lot of the really great things that happened in the first semester. We were the top performing K-12 district in the state. We had a Blue Ribbon School recognition. We had a number of Teachers of the Year. We're going to celebrate one here in just a minute. We had some great curricular work and resource revision, and our teachers, parents, and leaders are working on leadership implementation teams to make sure that our strategic focus is there. So as exciting as it was in the first semester, we're really looking forward to great progress here in the second half of the year.
Okay. All right, the Tradition of Excellence Award. Are you doing this?
I think Mr. Burnett.
Mr. Donut? Okay. I don't think that.
Good evening.
So if it's not here, I don't
When I supervise the cafeteria, I tell kids there's no assigned seats unless it's mine. I see that Ann and Jeff put down a pretty strong claim, and Julie's playing the shuffle.
Yeah,
So
I
welcome
just-
to the two of you on the ends. Hopefully, eventually, you can pick your seat instead of being told where to sit. Rob, do you want to come up? I think one of the shining stars at Highlands High School is just our career and technical education program in general. We were here a couple, I guess a month or two ago with Ms. Wagner and FCCLA. Tonight, we have 33 families in the pack learning about a new computer science pathway with the University of Cincinnati, and Mr. Volkenheim will be teaching that, so it's growing. And probably our fastest growing program when you look at numbers over the last 3 or 4 years has been Mr. Roselle's with engineering. So, you know, eventually, or prior, he started out teaching all the middle school classes. Now one of those has to be pushed down to the middle school because he retains kids as well as anybody in the school. So once he gets them in, they're going to finish that 3 and 4 year sequence. So we are here to celebrate the fact that Mr. Roselle was the ITEA, the Technology Education Association Kentucky Teacher of the Year. And so he's already received his recognition, and he will be in the running for the National Teacher of the Year at the conference that will be up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we're thrilled that he's representing Kentucky, but more importantly, Highlands High School, just with all the great things that come out of him and his students in his program. So congratulations.
We're here to present a Tradition of Excellence Award to Ron Roselle in recognition of being named High School Teacher of the Year by the Kentucky Engineering Technology Education Association. We offer you congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, if you go to Ron's classes, it looks like the one-room schoolhouse. I mean, people are clamoring to get into your class. And to your point, Mr. Darnell, when you teach an elective, one of your goals is you want kids to say, "What are you teaching next year?" And they definitely do. They keep coming back, so that's awesome.
Thank Thank you.
Yes.
And then the other fun fact about Mr. Donnell is he's a school board member. I'm sorry, Mr. Roselle is a school board member at Mason County Schools. So he's not busy enough teaching here. He's doing that too. So.
Let me get one,
Right.
let me get one
Get a
picture.
picture?
Oh, yes.
Everything I'll say about Ron, what I love about him, why it's a teaching, Tradition of Excellence Award is, it is not rare that Ron will get a call on a random Saturday evening where Ron will say something like, I got an idea. And that is why.
Don't ask him how much it might cost. Just have an idea, right?
And this is the kind of quality teacher that we have in Fort Thomas. So thanks again, Ron.
Well, and the other thing with Foundation, because you have really taken the
Yes.
Dare to Dream, you know, and asked for help, and they've built your program, and yeah, so.
And thank you, guys. Thank you.
Ron, when's the national conference?
Yes.
It's in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It will be April.
April. Great.
Second week of April.
Good luck to you.
All right,
All
yeah,
right,
good
thank
luck.
you. We'll let
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
The next section are these people that have been in the hallway waiting patiently. This is the community art program at Moyer. And before you start, I wanted to say that your pledge allegiance out in the hallway, you had a strong game. We could hear you, so good job.
Hey everybody, good evening. I'm Nikki Everett. I'm the art teacher here at Moyer, and we are so excited to share all of the projects we've been working on this year that kind of have to center around the idea of community. So all of these student leaders have come up with a presentation for you. We have some pictures up here on the board that they're going to talk about, and then this beautiful community weaving they're going to talk about too. So.
Good evening. I'm Addie, this is Reese, and this is Catherine. Our fourth graders are Olivia and Anna, and our second graders are Evangeline and Ezra. Tonight we will be talking about the Moyer Community Art Projects. Hi, I'm Catherine, and I'll be talking about what community means to me. What does community mean to me? That's the question I want you to ask yourselves. To me, community means helping people when they have a hard time. This artwork is people expressing what community means for them. That's all.
Hi, my name is Reese, and I will be talking about the Cards for Soldiers project. Over 200 Moyer students participated in the Making Cards for Soldiers project. Some people from Moyer sent the cards to the American Legion Company in Alexandria, Kentucky, who helped package, mail, and ship the cards to the soldiers. Thank you, American Legion people who helped, and thank you to people who made the cards for the soldiers.
Now here at Ezra and Evangeline to talk about the art on tap.
We worked in groups. Take our business off the list. We chose Padrinos. The first thing we did was make up ideas. We wanted to make a pizza slice. We all drew our ideas. And then worked together to make a big pizza slice.
For my group's project, we drew a picture for Dance Round, which is funny because I danced there. When we went to drop it off, we met the owner. Now whenever I go to class, I see my hard work. Thank you, second graders. Now I'm presenting Anna and Olivia to tell us all about the community weaving. I'm Olivia. And I'm Anna. We're talking about our Moyer Community Weaving Wall. So, for the Moyer Community Weaving Wall, we used all recycled t-shirts. So at the beginning of the year, students brought in t-shirts and we sorted them into colors because, as you can see, the weaving is a rainbow. And then students in Miss Everett cut them up to make strips that you were able to weave with. This brought the community together because at like people's basketball games, like my brother's basketball games, instead of watching it, I would go out to the hallway with my friends and weave. And then like police officer, there's this one police officer that we got to do it. Like kids from Moyer were teaching kids from Johnston and Woodville how to do it. And it just brought everyone together. So we had to learn to synergize to do this because, as me and Olivia learned the hard way, if you try to do it by yourself, it's really hard because you have to stick one hand in the back and one at the front, and it like bruises your arm and scrapes it. For a week. But if you put one person under the table on one side and somebody's in front on the other side, you can weave really well, as you can see up on the board. Now we're going to go show you guys how to weave, and we hope maybe at the end you can either do it now or later. We hope that you can maybe add to it.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you for listening. We would love it if you participated in our Moyer Community Meeting. You can do it now or when the meeting's over. Any questions?
We're going to show you how to weave while you guys are asking any questions you have of any of my Mustangs.
And if you do it on the bottom or the edge, it doesn't bruise your arms.
I'll go under the table.
I know.
Thank you. Just throwing things.
So when I was a little girl, we would make pot holders.
Yes.
So they were, they were this big, so they weren't as elaborate and.
So where did the frame come from? Like, is that a recycled piece or is it something for this?
Researched the best.
Large?
Netting.
Yeah.
It took a couple of different tries, but this one's
Sturdy enough to withstand the weaving.
I think it's like chicken fencing, but plastic.
How long did it take to get to where it is now?
Well, it started really slow. When you tell them how long it took. When did we start? You know? We started like in December after Thanksgiving, and we got like 5 rows done. And I thought it was going to take us like 6 months. But after the break, like Olivia said, we worked on it all winter break. So when I came back, it was 3/4 of it finished. So the community really did.
And what do you think, does it have a final place it'll be displayed?
We don't have approval yet.
Okay, so that's okay, you guys are gonna have to think about a good place
It's
and,
just the right size for the display case temporarily.
okay. That could be good. That could be a whole new,
I love
project
seeing
option.
the art around town. How many different places did you guys, how many different pieces did you do?
24.
Oh my gosh.
Each class had 6 businesses that they were in charge of. So there's some down on Grand and then some in the north end of town. Yeah. You want to tell the places you got to go to?
We did Katrina's, dance room.
Was that Padrino's Pizza Slice we saw up on the screen?
Yeah.
Did you
It was
get some
making me
pizza?
hungry,
Mhm.
so I'm just,
You got a pizza slice.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
as you should.
Yeah, there's one in my office, which is really neat. So a few of the things that I get to see with you guys, I walked into the hallway and I think Olivia said to me, do you know how to do weaving? And I said, no. She goes, well, you're going to learn tonight. And so just that level of engagement that you guys have, and I heard one of you say it, with the community where you're connecting your art, your talents, and your ability to work together with your community is a really great thing for Moyer. and hope you guys are learning not only the arts, but ways to take a whole set of skills in a whole variety of ways. So very proud of the work you've done.
I did have a question on the military card challenge. So that was a challenge. So did you have to beat out other schools in the number of cards? How was it a challenge?
It wasn't really a challenge.
Oh, no?
It was
Okay.
just they made cards and they sent them to
Okay.
soldiers.
How many cards did we make?
About like over 200.
Nice. Cool. That's great.
That was
He
appreciated.
knows the websites, like, it was a challenge for all Americans to make cards.
Got it. Okay. Very nice. 200 is good.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to weave after this meeting.
Remember this when you study Kentucky. Is it fourth grade that still does Kentucky? Yeah, because they talk about, weaving and all the different things, in our history. So you have to remember that. Yeah. All right, and we have shirts for all of you.
And I may
Mrs.
give them
Kuhnheim
to
is-
Ms. Everett
Yes.
to disperse,
You want to take a
but
picture?
just to say thank you for you guys to come and speak to us and share your progress.
You guys all get up front. We're going to give you a round of applause and get one picture of you with your teacher.
Did you get her?
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Really good speaking, too.
Thank you.
Yes.
You did. Okay, community forum. Did we have anybody sign up on community forum? Okay, all right. Then we'll go to the action items. The first action item is the organization of the board. And so we need to do election of officers.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ann Meyer as chair for this coming year, and Julie Kuhnheim as the vice chair for this year, and then Brian Robinson's going to be secretary, and Annie Rimlinger is the treasurer. But I think Ann she's been a great chair the last couple years now. She is great at keeping our meetings organized and on task, and she has a great feel for not only what's going on in the community, but inside the schools. So I appreciate if she would like to do that again. And then Julie joined the board a couple years ago, and she's been a leader since she came on here. And she's got a great capability of being the chair one day, and I think being the vice chair will be a great start to give you some practice of that.
All right. Okay.
Second? Second.
Second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All those opposed? Okay, you got it, Peggy? All right, good.
Yeah, new voice.
Okay, the second is the schedule of the regular meetings for 2023. So we need, the motion I need is for an approval to hold the regular monthly board meetings for 2023 at 6:30 on the second Monday of each month, and hold regular monthly meetings at 8:15, working monthly meetings at 8:15 on the Thursday prior to each monthly meeting, with exceptions identified on the 2023 board meeting dates list. So that is listed. There are a couple of times with the two new board members trying just to hit with schedules and not always meet at 8:15. So we have some at 4 o'clock. So those are identified on the website. So I need a motion for approval for that.
I so move to approve those
Second?
dates.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed? Okay. That's ugly. The next is the per diem. Right, okay. So people alluded to it. We say it a couple times a year, it seems like. But the school board per diem, a long time ago, I can't even remember the last time that it wasn't like this. We vote to donate our stipends back to the community. So there are teachers that are working on further education. There are teacher scholarships for kids that are graduating from Highlands and want to be teachers. So we have voted to fund those scholarships. So is there any discussion about that? Any questions about it? Okay. Then I need a motion for the approval to donate stipends for regular monthly meetings into a special fund for targeted purposes to be identified by the board. Do I need a motion?
I'll move to
Second?
designate that.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any of the, anybody opposed? Okay, we're good. And then the next one is board committees. So we have all discussed and talked about different committees that we want to be on. There is a committees list. How many committees are there? Probably 12?
I think there's
Probably 10 or 12 committees. Can be, you know, all the way from academics and curriculum to salary to budget to audit, all those. So those lists are also on our website. There's, you know, they're all listed that you can fit on there. You know, breakfast is on there. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but the committees that we've all discussed, we just need approval of the 2023 board committee list that we we've talked about. So anybody want a motion for that?
Motion.
Move? Okay, so moved. Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
You want to talk about them at all? No? Okay, because that's listed.
The meetings too, you might want to mention, are going to be at the city building moving forward.
Yes, but they will be as soon as we can get in there. So when you...
We're hoping.
Yeah, we are. So when we have the agendas, we'll tell you exactly, so you don't have to ride around Fort Thomas wondering, where are those people?
But check.
Yeah.
Because it could change.
That's good. Okay, so the next is the Johnson Elementary replacement. Jerry Wisman. Haven't we replaced that building yet?
Yeah.
As we talked last month, we were going to have one more pay application to Michael's Construction, Paul Michael's Sons, to complete that project. The project is done. We have passed all inspections. The parking lot is being put to use by students. I think I see more and more cars there every day as they kind of get through the process and get all the signatures from the students and get more passes and, you know, how the high school's handling it. You know, it has been used widely for community events as well. So, in addition to this final pay application, I have been working with Joe as well as Amy Sanders from their office on the closeout documentation with KDE. We don't have any of those through from them to present to you tonight, but we anticipate having some, if not all of them, next month. Just working through their online system, which is called FactPack, can sometimes be cumbersome. Usually that's just, you know, what sometimes the holdup is. So we'll do the final piece of approval for pay application tonight, and then next month have BG4s, a series of BG4s, and then hopefully BG5 on the project, because we'll have to do a 4 on each individual contract, I believe.
So are you saying then that next month we'll still have a Johnson Elementary replacement on here?
It will be for closing it out and getting it off the agenda.
Okay, all right. So you'll tell us when that is?
Yes.
Okay.
I look forward to the day when I can tell Peggy that's never going to be on there ever again.
That's right. Well, the parking lot does look good, so.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I know. We've been doing this for a while. Okay, questions? Comments or anything? Okay. I need a motion for the approval of the final pay application number 4 to Paul Michaels & Son in the amount of $12,416.25 for the Johnson Elementary Replacement Fieldhouse Parking Lot Project.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right. You have the next thing?
And I do. As we start to wind one down, we start to kick another one off. We talked at the working board meeting about the possibility of having a BG1 for you tonight to consider for replacement of the roof at Highlands Middle School. So we did get the cost estimates back from Joe's firm, and he's here tonight if you have any questions that he may have to answer. The scope of what we're presenting is a replacement of the middle school roof. About 10%, maybe a little more than 10%, is a complete tear down to the deck. The rest is in varying degrees on what needs to be replaced. The scope was developed using a series of test cuts as well as thermal scanning, so that we would know where we needed to add more insulation or totally replace all the insulation, etc. In addition, this does include work on the high school gymnasium roof. When we did that project, we knew at the time that that roof, which was basically just, it didn't include a lot of replacement. It was just put a new cover. we knew down the road that roof would need some attention. If we're going ahead to look at the middle school roof and have a contractor there, it could be to our financial benefit to have them address that then. It's going to be bid as an alternate. If it makes financial sense to look at it, we may bring that recommendation to you. If it does not make financial sense, we are not committing ourselves to doing that. But at least it's a good opportunity to get a price for what that work might be.
Are there issues with the high school gymnasium, or what are the issues?
We have not really had any issues. We did over the weekend have a little bit of ballast removed because we've always wondered if there might be a little too much weight up there. And after some reviews with Emma Hayes and our structural engineer, he recommended that we remove maybe 10% of the weight up there, which we did this past weekend. We have not had any major leaks. We've had a couple of minor leaks. I would not normally be coming to you saying, let's take a look at that roof if we were not doing another roof on the same campus. If we weren't doing the middle school, we wouldn't even be looking at this. But it's an opportunity to look at it, see what it would cost, and see if it makes sense, because if you can do it with essentially one mobilization of a contractor, instead of, say, 4 years down the road or 6 years down the road having to address it, it might be a smart move to make. That's the only reason that Emmett and Joe and I talked about it and looking at it.
So as an alternate, the conditions are going to have to be very favorable for us to recommend to accept that alternate.
Yep.
Well, and especially on the middle school side. I mean, we talked about new buildings and new projects for a long time. Is the right way to do this long term is to make sure that our facilities are kept in great shape, so we're not in a position to need to tear them down in the future. And so, staying on top of these roofs and other issues is the right way to do it.
And if it doesn't, if the high school gym doesn't make sense, that is, scary as it is, that first section that we renovated of the high school, that roof could be 6 years down the road that we need to address that, so we could tackle them at the same time. But might as well at least look at it at this time.
What is the typical warranty life?
It depends on Joe and I were talking about that. It depends on the type of roof, roof structure. He's going to help try and find out what kind of warranty, because I believe that roof still is under warranty. It's a question of what that warranty covers and how long that warranty has left.
And why that particular roof area in the high school? Is it because of the weight issue that it carries more weight than maybe some other parts?
Just the type of roof that was put up there. That's the one section of that roof that has ballast, which is essentially big rocks put on there to help keep the roof material down. The rest of the roof, it's here to go. So.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so I need a motion for the approval of the BG1 in the amount of $1,334,403, excuse me, for the Highlands roof replacement project.
So moved.
And I will second.
So you're just mentioning the quote for, they're going out for the quote. What's the, I'm sorry.
It's an estimate.
That's the
It's an estimate.
that they provided.
Yep.
For the,
Yes.
That's for just for the middle school?
That's for everything.
That's for everything.
And that includes the cost of the project, a KDE mandated minimum 5% contingency fund, which if we don't spend it,
We get to roll it back
don't
in.
pay it. It also includes the architectural and engineering fee, as well as any fees from our financial advisors for bank rating, and basically for Bob Tarvin to do his part of the work and get the money through bonding.
Okay.
So we would anticipate, if we did the high school, that being the total, that's the estimate for the total project cost.
If we decide to do it. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll get a chance to that.
Yeah.
discuss that again based on the numbers that Jerry and Brian will get back and to see if it's a wise thing to do.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not a final.
If that, say, 20% is eliminated, then you could anticipate that number going down 20%.
Right.
When we actually approve the next step.
Got it.
I get to come up here about 5 or 6 times before we, get through this process.
Yeah, before we say go. And also, just for the 2 new ones, we've been talking about the roof at the middle school since I came on the board. So, I mean, we've been, kind of limping along or like watching that one because it's a 20-year-old roof, so.
As I think Jeff mentioned, the one thing we don't want to do is ever have our buildings get in the condition they were when I showed up in this district 27 years ago. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money getting the beautiful facilities we have now. We want to keep them that way.
And really, the last thing to say from my part with the roof is from a timing perspective, there are 2 additional factors we have to keep in mind. One is the lead time on ordering of roof materials is more significant than we've expected. I think we're starting to come back into order, right, Joe? It's starting to come a little bit better. And then the other part is we're engaging in our HVAC project, which will involve a decent amount of work on the roof. And so it's really important to put these 2 pieces of the project together.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
We voted.
Did we vote?
We had a
I don't think,
motion and
I think we had a
second.
motion.
We have a motion, second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passed.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, Brian, you going to talk about the working budget?
Yep. So there are 3 parts of our budgeting cycle that we'll discuss as a board. The first, and these are legislated. The first one is our draft budget, and we present this one in January. It is the one that is the 30,000 foot view of our budgeting process. So we take a very conservative estimate of what we expect our revenues and expenditures to be going into the school year. This will help us with some planning this spring around staffing, around instructional budgeting, instructional fund budgeting. The second budget comes in May, and that becomes our tentative budget. It's very close in this district anyway. Some districts vary from budget to budget, but in this district, the May tentative budget is typically pretty solid. And then you have your final working budget that's approved in September. So a few things that we'll point out, and Andy's here to answer any questions as well if we get to that part. We have some comparison columns here so that you can see what the working budget in 21, 22, and then our current fiscal year 23. And again, those would be the ones that we approve in September as compared to our current draft budget based on what we know. The budget's going to be extremely, it's going to be a lot more robust than what you see here. What you see here are summary columns so that we combine all of our general fund into something that's a little easier to talk about in terms of big picture. You will notice that our our draft budget this year, it's a little bit of a different conversation than it was last. Last year we were facing unknown increases from the General Assembly. We ended up getting $100 addition per pupil average daily attendance from last year, and then another 100 this year. But last year we also had a reassessment looming that at the time we were predicting to be anywhere from $600,000 to $900,000 in fewer revenues from the state. We planned last January at about 25%. The reality of the increase in our district was really 22%. So it was just a little bit under, and so our revenues were actually lower from the state, despite the fact that they gave us an increase. So this one does represent some of our goals. The property tax revenue historically is a 4% increase. It reflects that. It reflects a bit of an increase in SEEK based on the additional $100. You can see that in the revenue column as well. We're projecting a slight increase in interest income just based on higher interest rates that are coming up. At the bottom on the expenditure side, we are forecasting and trying to catch back up with staff and faculty raises. We were able to provide for a raise last year, even though in some years where we have reassessments, we don't. The difference really last year is we had districts all over Northern Kentucky that were a lot higher in their raises than we were. So it does plan for a 3% increase in this budget. But even then, you'll see that the percentage of payroll and benefits, even with that increase, is down of the total budget. We have some inflationary increases in building and maintenance and utilities. We have, as well as technology and software. And we're also planning for additional funds in getting back on our resource adoption cycle. And so we're working on social studies this year. Next year, we're focused on English language arts. And then we also have to budget for a new bus that we need to put in into next year. The good news is one bus payment comes off when the other one comes on. So the increase is fairly minimal. I will point out in red, this is the last year where we have offset expenditures from our ESSER dollars. So this is the last $452,000 that we received in some of those ESSER funds, and so that's been very helpful for us for the last 3 years around technology. But this is the last year for that, so we'll have to plan accordingly. Overall, this budget is significantly better than we had last January, and a lot of that is some hard decisions that this board had to oversee and consider last year. I think that the decisions that were made were very responsible decisions. They weren't ones that we wanted to make, but at the same time, we tried to minimize any impact it would have on teaching and learning and opportunities. So, did I leave anything out, Andy, or anything that you would include? I appreciate it. Any questions on this round?
I appreciate the work, Andy, you put in on this, and you, and Brian, and really the whole district in watching expenses and keeping those under control. And you know, I think we've talked about it before. We need to be able to focus on our teachers and make sure that their salaries are tops in the state. And to do that, we need a good budget. We need the work to be put in to make sure that we can do that year after year. So I think we're in good shape to do that. You know, I mentioned to someone, I think maybe at our working meeting, that the budget right now is probably in the best shape it's been in a long time. So, and I think that goes to a lot of the work that's going on in the district, to people watching expenses and making good decisions.
And, you know, the whole, we don't want to remove teachers or positions, but being very thoughtful as if people are retiring, what do we need to maintain, what do we not, so we're not actively going in and making those decisions has been very smart, and I know a lot of work and mathing on the part of you too. Mm-hmm. It's a verb. It's a verb. I'm a right brain person.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, anytime you look at a budget that 80% is right away, it's earmarked for something. You know, there's not a lot of play in the budget, and when that 80% is earmarked, and you really want it to be more, then that's our commitment. So, again, Andy, Brian, I know a lot of work has gone into it, very purposeful, and that's what we have to be. We're an independent school district. We have to be purposeful.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, recruitment and retention is what you keep saying, and teachers, you're right, 82% of it, but we need to keep the focus there.
Yep. So, all right, anything else? Okay, I need a motion for the approval of the draft working budget for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. All right, you still,
Yep.
okay.
We have a couple other topics, items, I think they're C and D on this one. Actually, D and E are related. We had a recent retirement from our food service director, and as a result, we have a couple items that we're asking you to consider. Our food service director previously was not only the district food service director, but also managed the middle school cafeteria. And so the first item that we ask you to consider, Jamie and I are going to work with our administrators to do some reorganization going into next school year. But for the first step, we would like to create a standalone managerial position for our middle school. And so we're asking that we create the cafeteria manager for the middle school. It will also have it on the salary schedule. We have a salary schedule that falls right between the elementary manager and the high school manager. Literally just split the difference. And so we're asking for you to approve that.
Okay, any questions about that? All right, I need a motion for the approval to establish a middle school cafeteria manager position.
Motion.
Second?
I will second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
So in the interim, as opposed to making a decision to just go ahead and create a new district food service director, we would like to have an interim director that is one of our current managers. And so this next item is to create an interim stipend only for the remainder of this school year that would pay the difference between what she would make as the food service director and currently making.
And I would assume the thought being then a search of a highly qualified candidate starting soon, getting the best is also part of the thinking behind that.
Yeah. Or restructuring the model that we have.
Right.
We just need a little bit more time to do that.
We'll start fresh with next school year.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I need a motion for the approval to establish an interim food service director stipend in the amount of $3,800. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Yes.
All right, Jamie?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I have a couple of items to discuss this evening, and the first would be our transportation waiver. This is customary this time of year. If you notice, there's a lot of 23, 24s at the bottom of that page. So we start planning for next year. It's hard to think about, but it's the right time. So we each year consider common carriers as a mode of transportation within our district. It could be for athletic opportunities, field trips, various different groups utilizing those. And so regulation allows us to move forward with that type of transportation outside of our own fleet, as long as we have board approval. So I'm coming to you, asking you as a board to allow our students and our employees to join in contract with common carriers. Typically we use executive, but that is not all inclusive. We consider, going to Washington, D.C. We'll work with World Strides and be with their company that they would recommend. So it would vary, but this would be the first step in that process.
Questions? Any comments or anything? Okay. I need a motion for the approval to request a waiver from KDE to allow our district board to approve all certified common carriers for the 23-24 school year.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, still staying up here for tuition?
We are.
Okay.
So at this time of year also, we consider where we stand with tuition and the rates. Currently for the next school year, so considering for 23-24, we are looking at a small increase. So we're going to be following the same processes as before for our non-residents. Those applications are on our webpage now, and we are accepting those through April 1st. We have been told that we have a fair number of those, and we're looking at those in the days ahead to consider. But in the window of time, we'll continue to accept. So for those that are And so if it's an in-state student, we are asking that the tuition rate be approved at $3,500. And then for our out-of-state, it would be $6,440, which is displayed up there. For preschool, we're looking at a $10 increase, and that would be up to $285 per month. And then for our employees, we are considering the same thoughts of in-state, out-of-state, and we would have that at $1,500 and then $3,000, with the promise that we would freeze that over a 3-year period. For just the employees, not for the variable rates for the non-employees.
And just for clarity, for anybody who may be watching or in the audience, when we talk about the 6440, can you talk about the rationale where that comes from?
Absolutely. So you can see through the mathematical formula that it has 3,500 plus the 2,940. Obviously, you're going to be seeing the 3,500 coming from the in-state tuition rate. However, if you think about our seat calculation, take out everything that would be in consideration, that's the state contribution. So that would be then what that amount would be if you're out of state, because obviously we're not getting an in-state contribution for those families not living in Kentucky. So each year we'll consider that and we'll look at that. That does fluctuate from year to year.
And to the discussion, and I think Clem alluded to this, the retention rate and things that we can do to encourage people to want to come and teach here, looking at that lower tuition price for employees is kind of one of those things we want to think creatively about what we can do, because it can't always be the salary increase, but maybe put in place some other positives. So something to consider.
It has been reduced in the past, but we're looking at then holding that steady for the next
so
4 years.
With a certain freeze on a number of years.
And while we're given a very healthy discount with our faculty and staff, and that's a hope in hopes of attracting and retaining really great staff. Always do remember also the 2940 this year follows any student that is part of an employee's family, and that goes up just a little bit next year as well.
Well, I appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into that. We use tuition students can help fill gaps in the classrooms. It does help us have extra teachers, smaller class sizes. And I think families in Fort Thomas, they make an effort to be here. And so if we're going to charge tuition, I think keeping that at a level where there's good supply and demand, making sure that we can fill those classrooms, but we're not pricing ourselves out of the market is a good idea. So thanks for the work that you put in on that.
And looking around to see what other tuition rates are, that we are appropriately placed. So yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
More math.
Mathing.
More mathing. Okay. I need a motion for the approval of tuition rates for the 23-24 school year for grades K through 12 at $3,500 in state, $6,440 out of state. An additional tuition charge for preschool of $285 per month, and to require a non-refundable application fee of $50, and continue the procedure to require a $250 non-refundable deposit for new tuition students to begin participation in athletics, extracurricular activities. All fees will be applied to the tuition if the student attends Fort Thomas Independent Schools. So I need a motion for that long-winded thing.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. All right, it's the Jamie show.
It is the calendar today.
Yeah, I saw this question floating around on Facebook. So I said, you wait for the meeting.
I said Sarah and I have already gotten rid of the day after New Year's Day.
Yeah. Yeah. This was in motion for a long time.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, in previous years we did receive feedback, and a part of the committee process is that we do send out survey question stems, and then we review those as a committee. That is set by statute of what that committee should do, the expectations of the calendar. And so with all of that, we recognize that there were some, I don't want to say non-negotiables, but some priorities of this new calendar. And one bigger expectation would be that we would get out a little bit earlier than at the end of the school year in previous years for various reasons. It also would be to hold steady with 2 full weeks at the holiday winter break period, to consider where we stand with Thanksgiving and then looking at a fall break. And so there were many others, but the top 4 we were able to meet with this calendar, and our committee was in agreement with these. And so you will see, Peggy, if we can start at the beginning, possibly with August. This is a traditional start for us. So typically we would have our teachers' opening day on a Thursday, so we're having that yellow day, the 10th. We have 2 PD days, they're connected shortly after. We have the 15th off, and then we have a Wednesday student start day. So we're going to be starting very similarly. It's the same time frame as in previous years. But we're making up a couple of days here and there to allow the end of the year to be adjusted. So in October, a change from this year to this current 23-24 proposal would be, we are going to be out of school on October the 9th. That's a Monday. We are going to be in session. So that would be a day that we would consider being here. November looks the same as what we've had in the past. And then December, this year, the way Christmas, the holidays fall, with Christmas Eve on a Sunday and then Christmas Day on a Monday, we shifted to a midweek exam, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're out. And then we're going to return Peggy, so that we'll be there on a Wednesday coming back. So we'll be back on the 3rd. That was a celebration that we were just hearing, not the 2nd. So we'll have an extra day
And a short week upon the return. I think having a shorter week as opposed to the full week to kind of get back into everything could be nice. Yeah.
And then last year we determined that we needed a makeup day earlier, and it wasn't set there. And if you recall, we came to a meeting and we made an adjustment to allow us to have an early February makeup day. That's in this calendar, so I don't want that to be confusing. February the 16th, which is light blue, is actually a day off unless we have a snow makeup day or some kind of inclement weather makeup day. Then we would be in session. So promising that we would be in school if we need it, and it would be enough time to alert our families. And then we navigate through the rest of the calendar. It's the same for spring break. We're off the Friday before, which was a hot topic, a big priority. And then the end, our student last day would be Friday the 24th. So we're out before Memorial Day. But our teachers have to return on the 29th. So we know that there would be a promise that graduation for the high school would not be before the closing day, which would be the 29th. That's what we're asking Mr. Darnell and his school to schedule. Any questions with that?
Any questions? Okay.
I think you did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Definitely the committee work. Yeah.
You hit all the points that on the responses of what people want, I think, and I brought up in the working meeting. I mean, a lot of those miscellaneous days I think are hard to find childcare and things like that. Kind of getting rid of those. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Sending the survey, soliciting the feedback, and for being diligent to meet those top priorities. I think that's important for the community to see. So thank you.
We had our committee members that kept us to the data.
Let me remind you.
Well, and I love it because in our real life, you have all been in things where people ask for your opinion and they're not going to do it anyway, and you think, why ask me for my opinion? And we have people on this committee that when you start getting in the weeds go, let's go back to what the top 3 things what the people asked, and so you can't ask for anything better than that. So, but this is what were they thinking? This is one of those, calendar is always one of the things. So they wonder, what were they thinking when they did this? But there's a lot of parameters.
And once approved, we hope to send out the survey data as well. I know our stakeholders want to see.
To be able to see that together.
So we'll show the transparency of the survey results along with this when it goes out tomorrow.
All right, I need a motion for the approval of the 23-24 school calendar, the length of the day at each school, beginning and ending times for each school, the preschool calendar, and the shortened exam days at Highlands, and shortened days for PD at all 5 schools.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, anybody against? Okay. All right. Okay. Still the Jamie show.
Peggy is pulling up the resiliency poll. Today I want to share with you some results. We're just a tad bit delayed shared this in December, but we had some makeups, and so we wanted to make sure that we included all of our data. So I'm going to be going through our fall implementation. We started in October, and this would be for current grades 3 through 12 at all of our schools. And we'll share some of the results. There's going to be a lot up here, so I'm going to try to highlight most of it, but can answer any question. I did notice there was a typo on the very first slide. It should say in fall 2022. I caught that earlier, sorry. But we had 2,226 students that took this. And so when we think about that, we're at 3149 for all K through 12. But if we look at it, that's less than 4% of all of our student body. That did, I believe it was 124 students did have the opt-out, which is an option for families. It would be that they have to communicate with us prior to the administration, and there is a date, and then we allow parents to permit their students not to take this. So there are some exclusions. And we want to remind you that we started this actually in the spring of 2018. We know that that doesn't fall in line with our fall dates. After that, we wanted to move forward with our fall implementation, considering coming back to school, getting to know our kids, wanting that data to be live. And so as we progress through, you're going to see all of that data present today.
And also, to act on what you guys find as well.
Correct.
Allowing more time in the school year to do that.
Correct. We found in April administration by the time we identified and if there were extreme at-risk behaviors,
then we're
then
just
we were
sending
releasing
them
our students
yeah.
for the summer. So that was problematic. So if we think about the continuum as we move forward with this data, there are 4 levels. The at-risk and moderate concern are the ones that we target the most when we're looking at areas of improvement and how to address our students. And then the green color, satisfactory and optimal, are where we would hope all of our students fall. But we know that that's not realistic. Also, we know that in these subcategories or these domains that are listed below, you can have an individual color for each of those, but then have an overall different color. And you'll see that on the very end. I have a student example. But if I were green in all of them except for self-harm, that would turn me red, because that wants the staff to identify me quickly, to tell my staff, my counselor, to have a conversation and reach out to the families. And so our goal is to identify the overall holistic at-risk students first, and then look at your pockets of red throughout the students' scores, and then address then moderate concerns and move forward with those and any trends that we may have. So for K through 2, we don't have anything identified, but knowing that this starts with 3rd grade, this is where we have our conversations. This is quite small. I see that you can't really tell this, but I can articulate what this really says. If we think about the way Mr. Gilman does his reports, he does it opposite the way I think. So know that the most recent is on the left, and the furthest back, spring of 2018, is going to be on my right. And so when we look at the satisfactory and the optimal, those greens on the far left, we improved by 5% from the previous year. So we were at 68% of all of our students that took the survey in either of the green categories. But over the course of time, that's 24% from spring of 2018. So we're recognizing that we're growing into a positive as we proceed through this experience. And we recognize that the reds and the oranges or yellows up here, that those are decreasing, and that's important for us to see. We can see that overall as a district, for the reds, we have 7%, 9%, 7%. So we're holding steady. We know that we have some concerns, but we aren't having any dramatic decreases, especially in the light of COVID, where we know with our trends in society today. So our summary of findings share, again, the optimal and the satisfactory, which I discussed on the previous slide. However, it also shows on that major second bullet that our mean scores either stayed the same or they increased in a positive way overall, which is a great accolade for us to recognize where we are, because we're always worried about our students' health, mental well-being, and making sure that they have what they need. And so overall, we can see that we're having progress or we're staying the same We do see with depression and anxiety that it exists, so we know that. So this gives us a level of indication of, at the middle school and the high school level, how prevalent it is and if it's decreasing or increasing. And you're seeing it's going to be a very minor change. We're going down 1% at the middle school, but it's risen slightly 1% at the high school. And then we also know that over the course of time, we've always looked at ostracism. And I know that all of our counselors are concerned about students feeling left out and how to feel included. So it's been an intentional attempt to make sure that we are making gains with that and including students. And so we can see that overall, we have made gains in the elementaries, which was not addressed, but at the middle school, there's a 3% decrease of students feeling that way. So that is a success there for them. And then we also know that traumatic stress overall is one of those additional screeners. That has decreased at the middle school, but it has risen slightly at the high school, and you'll see that just in a second. So this is a whole snapshot of all three elementaries together, progression over time to allow you to understand from the far left being most recent to the right being historic. And then the fall historical average of 2019, know that that's not now, is our region. So those are our regional scores, and so a comparison. And then on the far right, it shows you our range. And know that sometimes it fluctuates to be out of 6 or out of 5, so be very careful to understand that, because if we look at our mean scores, then for global satisfaction 5.01, that has increased from 4.89, so that means that that is a success for us, that we have improved in that. Positive school experience is close, statistically insignificant with that. Hope is a positive from 4.6 to 4.82. And then ostracism actually works the opposite. And so with this, if it goes up, it is slightly, in this case, it's a negative. So you have more students that feel, but that is statistically insignificant as well as being tenths of students. Then at the middle school, we can browse through all of those mean scores. I think it's important for you to recognize, looking at the region and looking at pre-COVID where we stand, like global satisfaction, fall historical average was 4.76. We're well above that at the middle school, 5.09. And so if you compare, we typically are in a positive favor for those in the region pre-COVID. And that's another point to make. But then this is evidence too for the middle school for ostracism, 2.16 last year, 2.08. It's very similar to 2 years ago, 2020. And then for high school, again, many successes that we have. I'm not going to go through each one of those. I am going to fast forward and go through some anxiety and depression. This is impossible to read from way up here. But I can tell you that from the middle school at the top and the high school at the bottom, the trends are going to the left. And so the colors on this view look almost the same, but I can tell you one line is anxiety, which would be the higher one on the right. We have dropped in both of those over time. So one was 9 and one was 7. Now they're both at 6 for the middle school. And then for the high school, they started at, I believe, oh my gosh, it's testing my vision.
8. They started at 8 and have gone down to 6 and 5.
Yeah. So that is evidence that we're dropping over time with those 2 screeners. And then this one would be our supplemental screener when I said earlier about traumatic stress. That's the second column when you're looking at those blues. It's more of a gray. And so if you follow that at the middle school school's on the left. But if you look at that, that's dropping. So 2 years ago, it was 6. It went back up to 7, and now it's a 5. At the high school, it went up slightly. So when I said the high school did have an increase in traumatic stress, 2 years ago, it was a 4, last year it was 3, and this year it's 5, and meaning those are percentages. So when we look at autism the same way, last year at the middle school, we had 11%, this year we're at 8, and then at the high school, it stood the same at 6%. Very few drug and alcohol, and self-criticism would be the one where we internally really can't let anything go. Like, we over-criticize ourselves and are overly reflective negatively, and then that impacts our image. So we do take time then to consider what all of these are, the way the students respond, and then consult with the counselors with a plan. The last page shows you the example of how a student sample report is, and it can be as detailed as giving you the question stems along with the way the students responded. And so at times, if your student or your child is coming out as red, your parent groups are going to want to know, okay, what allowed my child to be red? What can I identify as a weakness and what would be some strength? So we do have those conversations, and we will be giving the reports fairly soon after, which in this case it was November, that the parents were then communicated with, and then action plans or discussions took place from that point, and it could end up being weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, group sessions with your current staff that we have today. That's a quick summary. Any questions about the resiliency goal?
So any student that has that red identification, parents will also be notified that they have that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It is that it would be a priority level. This software itself, based on the responses, prioritizes the stems, and so they work from the top and work all the way down. And so if you would have red, the parents are contacted by that counselor.
Yes. Okay.
And is that the only, like, if they're red, is that the only time parents are notified, or do parents are notified for other
So
levels?
over time, we've had this discussion. We don't automatically send this sample report home to families because there are pockets of red that would possibly add huge concerns in areas where there really wouldn't be concerns. And so they eventually do get to all of the reds. It's just not that we send those out en masse. We'd rather have the counselors work with the families to understand the reports before them just being sent like a report card.
Like, or the STAR reports or anything like that? Okay.
Correct. And at any time, a parent can see, and it shows trends, so you can see over the past 2 or 3 implementations, comparisons, how your child fell. And so we would release that at any time to any family. We're not holding on to that. We just want the parents to have communication from the counseling department first before it's sent out.
So when we started doing this, and we answered the kind of the problems with it, because of the spring, you just get different answers. I mean, you're in testing, it's the end of the year, it's, you know, you're identifying children, and then they're leaving for the summer and realize that it was bad timing and started doing it in the fall. And I will ask you this, not knowing the answer, but I kind of think I know the answer. I'm guessing, and it was this way when I was the counselor at Highlands, you're very rarely telling a parent that has a child in red something that they don't know.
That is true.
Yes.
And I do anticipate the counselors, if they know their students, they are going to have a possible preconceived result for a child prior to it coming up on a piece of paper. This is a snapshot in time. Also, it could be that it's a student's bad day sometimes, or that they didn't understand the question. So we have to work through that at times. But to Ann's point, typically, these are students that are already even seeing a therapist outside of school. It's just identifying and making sure we have the resources that teachers need within the school setting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess the other horror story side of it is when a parent says, well, I had no idea, right? And,
yeah.
And maybe that's where, if there's an issue, you want to make sure the counselors are
right, and that's the good part of
parents. Yeah.
The one thing about this little district, our little district, is we have very hands-on parents, and so I was not a counselor when they did this in 18, but you know, I was asking just blanket questions because I retired, and I said to them, number one, did you identify many people that the counselors or their parents didn't know about? No, and in many cases, I would guess that if I got this list as a counselor and these were my 10 red ones, that I would know, the parents would know, and in many cases, they were doing things for anxiety or they were doing things for self-esteem or whatever. So it was a lot of times when I would call a parent about something, they'd say, my child is seeing their therapist Thursday, we'll talk about that at this point. So, and I'm guessing that that is probably still happening as well.
The last thing we want as a district is, hey, we know, this information on your own child. And
we want the children to be able to learn at the highest levels that they can, to be comfortable. That's not to say that, they're going to be stretching sometime and they might be anxious about a math test that they didn't study for. There could be that, and we're never going to say quit taking math. We're going to teach them.
The math thing keeps happening.
It's,
I'm sensing a theme. Yeah.
So it's the teaching of those coping skills. So, yeah. Okay.
The last thing that I'll add to it is when we're doing a resiliency poll, you have two different lenses that we're looking at. We're looking at programmatic health of our district. And so when you use that lens, I would encourage you to look at dividing that into two sections. So the satisfactory and optimal, and how our student bodies are doing. And then the other lens that we're looking at is how do we get individual students the attention that they need. And so this is an instrument that our educators are using for both purposes. I think it's a good indicator that the programs that are in place, the intentionality that's there, across our country right now, you're not seeing improvements currently in the satisfactory and optimal range. So the fact that we're holding pretty steady and even seeing improvements is very encouraging for the programs we have in place. There's still students that are struggling, and to Ann's point, that team approach of our school engaging families and then helping find additional supports for the families that request it, sort of quarterbacking some of those conversations for extending it is really good for the kids that need it. And so really proud of the work that you're helping to lead, Jamie, and thanks for what you're doing with our people in the schools.
I appreciate it, but it really comes down to our counselors, that they are amazing. The support that we need within our buildings, and they work really hard to make sure that they reach all of our students.
And I would, just a personal story, but today I had to go to a service, and somebody in line was talking about to the middle school. It was a 6th grader, special needs student, and how the 8th graders have reached out to her and are asking her to eat lunch and how she loves to go to school. And we were just talking about middle school cafeteria when you go as a 6th grader is a daunting place. And so to have friendly faces in there asking them to come eat, it goes on, and it's a small thing, but it's really big in their family, and they appreciate it. So she was telling me how wonderful that was. So, yeah.
Good.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Jane.
Okay. Comprehensive District Improvement Plan.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Mr. Faust.
Thanks for allowing me to have an opportunity to speak to you tonight about all the great things that are happening in our schools and kind of not only where we are, but where we are moving forward, right? I've been up here a couple times this year, and I've talked to you about different phases of the school improvement process. We've talked about safety assurances, we've talked about superintendent assurances, and all of those things that have happened so far. Really kind of led up to this culminating point where we're talking about our school improvement planning process. Adrian, you don't want to hear about school improvement planning? It's really long.
She's giving you all your time.
Yeah. All right, so it really kind of leads up to this culminating point. We've talked about KSA data. We've looked at our schools. They've gotten some data from the spring testing to talk about where they are. And so our school, and I really want to applaud our building level leaders and their teams to create this plan. And that's what I'm here to share with you a little bit tonight, kind of a 35,000-foot overview. So talk about school improvement planning, district improvement planning, and then superintendent assurances. And so that's where we're at. So just kind of get us a lay of the land, talk a little bit about the purpose of a comprehensive district improvement plan is to really ensure that our schools are doing what they're set out to do, which is for continuous improvement, right? And so it really takes a village for continuous improvement, because our students, obviously, but our parents, our teachers, counselors, administrators to work towards school improvement. And this plan really involves all stakeholders to do that. It looks at many facets. It talks about, what's your goal? What are your strategies? What's your activities? What are the finances that are involved with that? How are you going to progress monitor that? And what supports you're going to have in place? So it's really comprehensive in the fact that it includes all stakeholders, and there's many aspects of this district improvement plan. Just for an operational kind of definitions, there are different elements of each improvement plan. So there's a goal, an objective, a strategy, activities. There are things called key core work processes. And so the state of Kentucky helps kind of uniform the plans by having 6 key core work processes. And they talk about things like school climate. They'll talk about things like looking at data analysis. They'll talk about things like resource acquisition and what are you doing from there. So each of those 6 elements are embedded within each improvement plan. And then we talk about the progress monitoring and measuring of success. So each school improvement plan has each of those elements, and then the district improvement plan kind of brings it all together, which is what I'm sharing tonight. A couple meetings ago, we talked about some of our summative data, and we shared out the great results that our students did last spring. And just so you know, for elementary and middle school, we have a reading and math goal, a science, social studies, and writing goal. That's in their school improvement plan. There's GAP goals, there's EL goals. I put asterisks by those because if you remember, we talked about you have to have a certain N count, right? And that N count, the state of Kentucky just changed to an N of 30. So if you don't have a population of 30 year students or more in that tested area, you would not create or draft a goal for it. So in many of our cases, because of our size, we're small enough, our populations don't have that, with the exception of our middle school. Right? When we look at our students that are tested, particularly with those students with a disability, that does exceed an in count of 30, and so we can create goals for them if they didn't hit a certain threshold. Right? And I see a typo there, it should just be high school. You see high school has those additional goals of post-secondary readiness and graduation rate. So each of our schools would have those. When we talk about goals, we're looking at a 5-year trajectory, and so it's, we do objectives, we're doing 1 year out. So you'll see the numbers for the goals will be much more robust, as opposed to an objective that's a 1 year goal that we're trying to achieve. So without further ado, here are district goals that we have, right? So this is a compilation of all of our schools' data put together to create the district goal. So when we talk about proficiency, that's that reading and math goal. And we stated there that we would try to go from an 88.9 to a 90.4. Now you might say, hey, those margins are awful slim. Well, if you also remember a couple meetings ago, we talked about our schools were performing at a very high level. So we're almost already at the top, and so the opportunity for growth is very challenging. Remember, we were kind of many of our schools were in the blue area in many of these categories, and so to achieve that goal of going from 88 to 94, that's actually pretty an aggressive goal for us to be able to attain that. So it's going to really take all of our stakeholders doing all of the things they talked about with their strategies and their activities to attain that goal. And so that's specifically in the area of reading and math. And again, you're about 5 years out by 2027. That separate academic indicator goal, that's took those areas of social studies, science, and writing. Again, we're trying to go from 81.9 to an 87.1. Again, it's that same rationale. We're already scoring at the blue level very high. And so to try to continue to make growth, we're looking for growth, but also have to be realistic in the fact that we're already achieving at a very high clip. Talk about achievement gap. So I alluded to that already. Our middle school specifically has that in group with our students with a disability. In the state document, they don't have you create a goal for that. They rather have you create objectives, right? So we do have objectives that are listed, and it is specifically for those students with a disability. How are we going to reduce specifically novice reduction, and how are we going to get our students on proficiency? And so we don't have a district goal for a gap, but our school, specifically our middle school, does have those objectives listed. QSCS, that's quality of safety and school climate. Looking to move that indicator again from 73 to 79. Post-secondary readiness, really speaking to our high school population, and then graduation rate. Speaking to Mr. Darnell, he feels very confident that we're really going to be able to hit those post-secondary numbers. You see we'll be above 100 and then 99% graduation rate. I think those are great things. I'm confident that our students can get there. So. All of our, like I said, all of our school goals build into our district goal, and there we have it there. On our superintendent gap assurance, what we're stating there, and what you as a board are stating, and what I'm notifying you about, is that no school in our district has failed to meet the targets to reduce gap reduction in any 2 consecutive years. And so we do know that our middle school has a gap discrepancy there that we're trying to work on. Ms. Volpenheim and her middle school staff have worked hard to identify how can we assist our students with a disability to reduce that gap. They've got a plan in place. It's now contingent upon myself, Ms. Volpenheim, middle school staff, director, Ms. Rosa, to ensure that we're implementing that plan to fidelity, and I'm confident that those numbers will improve in the spring. All right, so those are the elements that we talked about tonight. Was our school improvement plan, our district improvement plan, and the superintendent gap assurances. All right, what are our next steps? And so really the next steps, we can put a plan in place, but if we don't have a way of ensuring that our teachers and support staff and administration have the skills necessary to implement the plan, it's just something on a piece of paper, right? And so step 4, or phase 4, is our professional development plan. This is new. In the past, they used to do your professional development plan like right now it was due, which is kind of silly. Like, people before me might have been, and I'm sure they were, way more adequate at this role than I am, but I can't even begin to forecast like 6 months out where we need to be. So what we'll be doing moving forward is we'll be talking to our teachers, department chairs, building level administration, figuring out, all right, here's the plan we have in place. How can we really support you? What training do you need? What resources do you need? Let's craft a professional development plan that makes sense, and that's due in May. And so we'll be working on that the second semester, listening to our teachers. How can we support them so we can take these plans and put them into place? And that's phase 4. And that's it. Any questions for me on district improvement plan?
Yeah, it's great that there was finally a realization that you should probably look at the CDIP to inform professional development.
Yep. It really makes more sense.
Makes sense.
All right, thank you. I'll be back at some point to share our
Phase 4.
Exactly.
Phase 4.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay.
This will also be some of our discussion when we meet with our councils.
Okay, does that cover everything? Covered it? Okay. All right. There's nothing that we have to vote on?
Correct, just discussion.
Okay. All right, board committee updates?
I shared with you guys Hall of Fame. That committee did meet, Athletic Hall of Fame, March 15th. I'll be reiterating that and reminding people each month. It's on the athletic department page.
Okay, so am I to understand that they can go on the athletic and I, as Joe Citizen, can nominate people?
Yes, you can nominate people. The caveat with that is just it works best when you have very good working knowledge of the athlete, team, coach, so that they are very specific listing of awards and all the things that the athlete has amassed. So that would be the encourage, and there's a number of years out that you have to be 20.
It's 20 for a player, I think it's 10 for a
Okay,
coach.
so those things come into play too, and more information about that would be with the application packet,
So do usually people look at that and say, I have an idea for this, and they usually call somebody at the high school before they would put the paperwork in and kind of talk through it?
Some things are done, and coaches oftentimes may reach out to athletes that they've had, say, hey, you should consider this, or...
So do the nominations, do they go to Megan Abner, or who do they start?
Megan is on, there's a committee made up of former coaches, former administrators, that looks at all of the applications.
Yeah.
And they keep applications, so if someone doesn't get accepted into the hall at that year, those are maintained, and there's still possibilities moving forward. So it's someone who's been nominated in previous years might qualify
Might
this
not be
year.
the first ballot.
Yeah, yep. No, well, let's not go there. We don't want to get to 13th, but.
No. Okay, anything else?
I think that's all.
I don't think,
Okay.
nothing since December.
It's a new part of the year. You'll see a lot of.
It's gonna start to pick up.
Committee pickup.
Yeah.
So, the board will again, be serving breakfast for late arrival, so, we'll bring those, I know. Just to give you a hint, I'm known as the biscuit lady at Southside Deli, so.
It might involve some biscuits.
I know, might involve some biscuits, so we will bring those on the 18th, so we'll be ready for those. And while we're talking about that, when I always talk about the breakfast, we do the breakfast at the beginning of the year. That's one committee that no one ever wants on. I have this committee. Anyway, but people in the community donate, and because we've been able to keep it in-house and we have, you know, a set amount of money, it's been really nice because we've been able to continue doing things throughout the year, and I think the teachers like that.
Yep, late arrival day breakfast.
Okay, anything else? All right.
Just a reminder, it's about 90% certain that we'll be meeting in February at the new council chambers in the city building. So that's highly likely for February. And then, I don't want to go too much on because we have a national championship game, and
yes,
hopefully we'll have some pressure for a Houdelet.
I'm just going to go weed, I think.
Well, I am gonna.
It's like,
yeah, so
it'll kind of calm you down.
Yeah.
I know. All right. Okay, we need the approval of the consent agenda. Has everybody had time? Anybody have questions about consent agenda at all? Comments, questions?
No.
Okay. With all board members having had the opportunity to review and pursue any questions about all the items contained therein, I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. No one opposed. You got that, Peggy? And then other business. We have some cards. I love cards from teachers because they kind of take on their what they teach or whatever. Yeah. So this is a world language thank you, and it's all foreign language at the front. Merci, gracias, and so forth. This is my favorite one. Not my favorite one. This is one of my favorite ones.
Oh.
I know. You can tell it's an elementary. It's all been cut up, and she does keep talking about the delicious treats, delicious treats, delicious treats. It becomes like part of the whole thing. So, well, we have 4 of them thanking the board with the Christmas card, and then the just the things that we give them through the year, and then at the Christmas cards they all got gift cards for a couple of local restaurants, so they were thanking us for that. So, all right, any other business? Okay, then we are adjourned.